Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing the very first update on my Pandal Shadows project. If you're new to this channel, the way that this project works is that at the beginning of the year, I selected 4 shades that I will be working on throughout the year or however long it takes to hit pan. The first one I selected myself, and the other 3 I randomized on an app where I have all my shadows. And the way that this is gonna work is that as soon as I hit pan on an eyeshadow, I'm gonna delete the entirety of the palette because I want to have pans on as many eyeshadow palettes as I can. Another thing is that if I get burned out with a shade after 23 uses, I can roll it out, but I will try to do that as less as possible. Another huge disclaimer, I have some good numbers today. I also have some others that are not so great, but I'm gonna keep pushing. But you should know that when I'm doing this, I am not drilling on my eyeshadows or over swirling or anything like that. I want to hit pan on a as natural, organic way as possible. So I'm just using these eyeshadows as I would use my eyeshadows normally. Because when I started consuming Project Pan content on YouTube, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know on average how often or how many uses would it take for me to hit pan on an eyeshadow, on a blush, on a highlighter. And particularly with the Pandal Shadows projects, which I binge watched for a while, I noticed that people were hitting pan in like 10 uses, 15 uses. And I don't think that's realistic. So I'm just gonna do this in my own way, at my own pace. And I just wanna be kind of honest with myself and use my shadows the way I always wear them without trying to waste any product just for the sake of hitting pan. I hope that makes sense. So if you expect to see a lot of rollouts pretty often, I don't think that's gonna happen for me. I am okay with that. Once we got that huge disclaimer out of the way, let's begin. My first eyeshadow comes from my Going Coconuts palette by Colourpop. This is one of my favorite palettes ever, and the shade that got selected for me was Culata. This was one of the very first eyeshadow palettes that I bought, and I'm surprised that it doesn't show it. This is what Culata looks like, and it's such a beautiful transition shade, and so I reached for it 19 times. Editing me here. Sorry, I actually reached for it 14 times, not 19. I misread. Which is a lot compared to what I've seen other people do on Pando's shadows, but yet we don't have a pan, but we do have a good dip on it, so I'm satisfied. Also, I forgot to take pictures at the beginning of the month, so we don't have a before and after, but just know that this shade basically looked new. It had a little bit of use, but not a lot. My second eyeshadow comes from my Kneaded Nude e.l.f. palette, and it is the very first shade on this palette, and this was randomized. This palette looks basically brand new, and like I said, I don't have a before picture on this shade, but it looked like all the rest of the shadows do in this palette, brand new. This is what it looks like, and it's just a basic white shade that I use to set my eye, and then I start going in with my crease shade and whatnot. And so I reached for this one 19 times, and like I said, it looked brand new at the beginning of the month, and now there is a nice dip going for it, so I'm excited. It is such a creamy formula. It is really nice. I don't know why I don't wear these eyeshadows more. It's such a shame. The third shade comes from my Daydream Alter Ego palette, and it's the shade Enchanted. Now, you should know when I open this, you're gonna see that the shade Enchanted is not where it belongs. It's gonna have a different name under it, and that's because I rearranged this palette. The pans are magnetic, so I rearranged it to make more sense to me and make it more user-friendly. This shade Enchanted is a really nice pink shade, quite deep in my opinion, which is why it didn't have a lot of use and it looked almost brand new, which is a common theme in my eyeshadows just because I have so many of them. But it is a really rich pink, and again it looked brand new, and I can see now a bit of a dip starting to form, but we're nowhere near hitting pan. This is what it looks like when it's swatched, and I reached for this one 6 times throughout the month, which is a huge difference compared to Culata from Going Coconuts and the Kneaded Nude shade. But the thing is that with Kneaded Nude and Culata, I will literally reach for them almost every day and use them as the starting point for any eyeshadow, no matter what palette or what kind of look I was going for. This one is less flexible and less, I guess, multi-purpose, or less, you know what I mean. If I'm reaching for this one, it is a pink look, and I don't always want to wear a pink look. So 6 times Long road ahead, but we will get there. I will not get discouraged. Finally, my fourth shade comes from my Artemis by Alter Ego palette. This one is another one that I recently rearranged because the original setting didn't make sense to me, and I just wanted to do it. And since the pants are magnetic, it is really easy to do so. But the shade that I have from this one is called Thrill. It is kind of like a greenish brown shade. It's really pretty. It is one of those colors that I love wearing on my eyes. This is what it looks like when it's swatched, and like I said, it is so beautiful. But sadly, I only reached for it 6 times as well. Again, because it's not as flexible as these two first shades, so you know, it's gonna take a little bit longer to get those 23 uses or to hit pan on. But I am okay with that. I am enjoying reaching for these palettes, especially my Artemis one because it is a newer one to my collection. I bought this back in November. Another thing that I want for my eyeshadow palettes is that I want them to look and be more used. And so I'm going to be doing a 10 use per shadow kind of project, and I will be updating it along with my Pandos shadows. For this month, I selected my Fez by Natasha Denona palette. It is again a newer one to my collection. I bought this on a sale for $8, which is insane for a Natasha Denona palette. I selected this one particularly because I always wanted a Natasha Denona palette, and to get it for such a good price, I was so excited. And also because these colors are right up my alley. I am a neutral kind of girl. This is what it looks like swatch. This first shade is called Mindful, and I have reached for it 4 times. This second one is called Oro, and I have reached for it 4 times as well. The third one is called Carnelian, and I have reached for it only once. The fourth one is called Acrobat, and I reached for it only once. And the fifth one is called Acrobat, and I have reached for it only once as well. I think this is going to be very doable for me to use each shade 5 times, 10 times. Both because it is a really small palette and also because I really gravitate towards these colors. The only challenging one I can see is probably this blue one, but I will update you next month and let you know how it goes. And I promise you that next month I will have before and after pictures for these updates. That's it for me today. It is a short one. I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. I hope that you don't mind the slow progress that I will be making on these shadows. So yeah, consider subscribing, maybe following me on my Instagram where I post sometimes my panning progress or makeup stuff. I don't know. I don't post very often, I will be honest, but it's there. If you're someone who is also doing a project pan those shadows, level up, any of those, and you are also documenting it online, please let me know where I can go ahead and follow your progress. I would love to cheer on you, and I also love this kind of content. It keeps me motivated. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye! At the beginning of the year, my first eyeshadow comes from my Go. This one is another one that I'm doing a. Thank you for your input.